Welcome, I'm Seema from Edufinite. In this video, I will be explaining how to transform simple sentences into compound sentences and compound sentences into simple sentences. I will help you to clear your concepts on the topic. Hope it is beneficial for you. If you have any queries, you can write to me in the comment section. If you have any confusion about types of sentences and or clauses, you can check my videos on them. The links are provided in the description box. One more thing. As the video was getting too long, I made separate videos for transformation of simple sentences into complex sentences and vice versa, as well as compound sentences into complex sentences and vice versa. So those two videos are separate. Now, let us delve into the topic. Now, what a transformation of sentences. The transformation of a sentence means changing its form without any change in its actual meaning or idea. So, the idea or the meaning of the sentence remains the same, only we can change its form. It helps us to learn. Why do we do that? Why do we transform a sentence? Why do we have to learn transformation of sentence? It helps us to learn the various ways of presenting a sentence while writing in English. So it will make our writing much better. There are mainly three types of sentences, and they are as below. Simple sentence. Now, what is a simple sentence? It has just one independent clause. That means it will have just one subject and one verb. Next, we come to compound sentences. Now, it has more than one independent clause joined together by a coordinate conjunction. So, two or more independent clauses, they are joined together by conjunctions. That's how a compound sentence is. Suppose it has two independent clauses, then it will have two subjects and two verbs. One subject and one verb for each independent clause. Next, we come to complex sentences. Now, a complex sentence, it has one independent clause and one or more dependent or subordinate clause. Now, independent clause is also known as main clause. So, this is how the different types of sentences are formed. Simple sentence, compound sentence, and complex sentence. Now, we can change a simple sentence into compound sentence or complex sentence by expanding a word or phrase into a clause and vice versa. That means, in a simple sentence, since there is only one subject and one verb, if it is a long sentence, in that case, we'll have some phrase. And that phrase has to be expanded to become a clause. A clause will have a subject and a verb, and then it will get transformed into a compound or a complex sentence. Now, we can change a compound sentence or a complex sentence into a simple sentence by contracting a clause into a word or a phrase. So, in a compound or a complex sentence, we'll have a clause. That means it will have a subject and a verb. But if we have to convert them into a simple sentence, in that case, we'll have to reduce the clause and reduce it to just a phrase where there will be no subject or verb as such. For example, he must work very hard to excel. So over here, this is a simple sentence. To excel is the infinitive phrase, because here the verb in the simple form or in the first form has to before it, and so that's the infinitive phrase. Now, how do we change this into a compound sentence? He must work very hard or he will not excel. So what are we doing? To excel, that's the phrase. we are expanding it to make it a clause, he will not excel. So we have now two independent clauses with two verbs and two subjects. In the first independent clause, he must work very hard. Over here, we have he as the subject, must work as the verb. That's the independent clause because it's making complete sense. He must work very hard. Now, he will not excel. This is the other independent clause. So here he is the subject, will not is the verb. So we are having two independent clauses and they are joined together by or, which is the coordinating conjunction. Next, now if we convert this or transform this into a complex sentence, it will be, since he wants to excel, he must work very hard. Now, we had said, how does a complex sentence form? It forms with the help of a subordinate clause and an independent clause. So here the subordinate clause is since he wants to excel. Now, since he wants to excel does not give us the full idea or the full meaning of the sentence. So this is the subordinate clause. Next, he must work very hard. This is the independent clause. So we have a subordinate clause and an independent clause, and so this is a complex sentence. Now, let's delve deeper. How to transform simple sentence into a compound sentence. Let's look into the various ways how we can transform them. By enlarging a word or a phrase into a clause, as I said earlier, by changing one subject and one verb into two or more independent clauses with its own subject and verb. So we have already seen that in a simple sentence, there is only one subject and one verb. But when we convert it into a compound sentence comprises of two independent clauses. So each independent clause will have its own subject and its own verb. So that is how it will be formed. Next, let's look into the conversion of simple sentences into compound sentences. What is the first method? By using cumulative conjunctions like and, both, and, as well, not only but also. So this is how we convert or transform the simple sentence into a compound sentence by using these cumulative conjunctions. Now, what is cumulative conjunctions? These are conjunctions that merely add one statement to the other. So let's look into them. So the first sentence, this is a simple sentence. Working very hard, he did well in his final examination. Now, working very hard. Over here, this is the phrase. It does not have a finite verb, nor does it have a subject. So this is a phrase, and he did well in his final examination is the independent clause. Now, this is how a simple sentence is formed. It has only one subject and one verb. Now, how do we convert it into a compound sentence? He worked very hard and did well in his final examination. So we are using the cumulative conjunction and to join two independent clauses that we have made and convert it into a compound sentence. Now, he worked very hard. We can see he worked, he is the subject, worked is the verb. So subjects all I have marked green and verbs are all in blue colors. So it will be easy for you to understand. Now you can say in the second independent clause, we just have a verb, did very well in his final examination. There is no subject. Well, yes, there is a subject, but it is hidden because it will be like he worked very hard and he did well in his final examination. But for convenience, we don't use the second he, we just keep it hidden and just say and did well in his final examination. Now the next sentence. Besides preparing my tiffin, my mother also packed it for me. So here, the phrase of the simple sentence which we will expand and turn it into a clause is besides preparing my tiffin. Now, my mother also packed it for me. That's the independent clause of this simple sentence. Now, let's see how do we do it. My mother not only prepared my tiffin, so we are using not only over here before prepared my tiffin, and then we add but also packed it for me. So we are using not only as well as but also. So this is how we are joining the two independent clauses to make it a compound sentence. Next, to escape arrest, the con man ran away. Now, to escape arrest is the phrase of the simple sentence which we need to expand. Now let's see how we do it and turn it into a compound sentence. The con man ran away and escaped his arrest. That means and he escaped his arrest. So we have kept the he hidden. So it's just and escaped his arrest. Now the next one. Sarah is beautiful. She is gentle. Now we have two simple sentences and we will join them and make them one compound sentence. Let's see how. Sarah is beautiful as well as gentle. So this is how, that means as well as she is gentle. So we don't say as well as she is gentle. We just say Sarah is beautiful and gentle. Next. Mohan enjoys tennis. His brother enjoys tennis. So again, these two are two simple sentences. Now, we will use some conjunctions and turn or transform this into a compound sentence. Both Mohan and his brother, here what are we doing? We are making the subject compound. Both Mohan and his brother enjoy tennis. Now, the next way of conversion is by using adversative conjunctions like but, still, yet, nevertheless, however, only, etc. Now, what are adversative conjunctions? These conjunctions, the conjunctive relation of units that expresses the opposite of their meanings. So they help to join these type of clauses together or two independent clauses together. Let's take this simple sentence first. In spite of being lean, he was quite strong. So in spite of being lean, that's the phrase. Now we'll have to expand it. How do we do it? He was lean, but he was quite strong. So what are we doing? We are having two contradictory type of independent clauses. The meanings are contradictory. He is lean, but he is strong. So for these cases, we use conjunction but. Next, notwithstanding her pitfalls, I respect her. Now, notwithstanding her pitfalls is a phrase which we will have to expand. Now, let's see how do we transform it into a compound sentence. She has her pitfalls, yet I respect her. So again, we are using the conjunction yet, adversative conjunction yet, to join these two independent clauses and transform it into a compound sentence. Next, Roma had all her qualifications of a manager except honesty. Now, except honesty is the phrase which we need to expand and transform it into a compound sentence. So the compound sentence is, Roma had all her qualifications of a manager, but she was not honest. So we are using the adversative conjunction but. Now the next one. In spite of being angry, I kept my cool. So here the phrase is in spite of being angry. Now let's see how we transform it into a compound sentence. I was angry, still I kept my cool. So two independent clauses joined together by the adversative conjunction still. Now the next one, Simon is weak. He works very hard. So we have two simple sentences. Now let's see how we join them together. Simon is weak, nevertheless works very hard. So again here, nevertheless, he works very hard. We don't use the he, we keep it hidden and say works very hard. Now we come to the third type. How do we convert the simple sentence into a compound sentence? The third type is by using alternative conjunctions like either, or, neither, nor, or simply or, otherwise, else, etc. Now, what is actually an alternative conjunction? Alternative conjunctions, actually, what do? They express an alternative relationship between the words, phrases, or clauses that it connects. So, let's see how. Now, the simple sentence, we must be mentally strong to overcome stress. Now, to overcome stress is the phrase that we have to expand and turn it into a compound sentence. So, let's see how we do it. We must mentally be strong, or we will not be able to overcome stress. So, this is how we expand it to overcome stress. We will not be able to overcome stress. And we have joined the two independent clauses by the alternative conjunction or. So, we are having an alternative. We have to be mentally strong. Otherwise, what is the thing? What is the alternative relationship? We won't be able to overcome stress. So, that's why we have used the word or the conjunction or. Now, the next one. You would have been insulted but for my timely intervention. So, but for my timely intervention is the phrase that we need to expand to turn it or transform it into a compound sentence. I had intervened timely, otherwise you would have been insulted. So we are using the alternative conjunction otherwise. Next, prepare for the exam well to avoid the chances of failure. So to avoid the chances of failure is a phrase that we have to expand. How do we do it? Prepare for the exam well, else there will be chances of failure. Next, he is brave, and the other sentence, or he pretends to be brave. Now we have two sentences. How do we join them? Either he is brave or he pretends to be brave. So we are using either or. The next one. Harry is not weak. He is not timid. He is not meek. So, how do we transform it? Neither is Harry weak, nor is he meek. So, this is how we have transformed two simple sentences into one compound sentence. Now, we come to the last one. By using elative conjunctions like therefore, then, so, and, so, for, etc., we can convert simple sentences into compound sentences. Now, elative conjunction is a word that is used to join two phrases, but here the first phrase refers to the second phrase. So when a first phrase is referring to the second phrase and we are joining them together by a conjunction, then that is the elative conjunction. So let's check out. The simple sentence, their work being unsatisfactory were dismissed. So they were dismissed, that is. Now the compound sentence, their work was unsatisfactory, therefore they were dismissed. So we are using therefore over here. Next, Mary was promoted by virtue of her sincerity. Now by virtue of her sincerity is the phrase which we need to expand. Now the compound sentence will be, Mary was sincere, so she was promoted. So what we have done? We have brought that by virtue of her sincerity, we expanded it and made it Mary was sincere, and we have joined it with she was promoted, and we have used the elative conjunction so. Next, being tired, he came back home. So being tired is the phrase. Now we change it and make it he came back home for he was tired. We can say it this way, or we can also say he was tired, so he came back home. So these, we can vary it. Now we'll see how we transform compound sentences into simple sentence by reducing the number of coordinate clauses into one principal, prepositional or infinitive phrase. So what do we do to transform compound sentence into a simple sentence? We will reduce the number of coordinate clauses and just have one phrase, reduce the clauses into one phrase. It can be a participle phrase or a prepositional phrase or an infinitive phrase. Let's see. And by changing it into one subject and one verb. So that's the criteria of a simple sentence. Because in compound sentence, since there'll be two or more independent clauses, so there'll be two or more subject and verb, but we'll have to reduce that and just make it into one subject and one verb. Now, conversion of compound sentences to simple sentences. By using a participle, that is words ending with ing, ed or en. Now, the compound sentences, he woke up and got the good news. That means he got the good news. So, it's joined by the coordinating conjunction and. Now, let's see how we turn it into a simple sentence. We have two verbs and two subjects, of course, but one is hidden. Let's see how we change it. The simple sentence. Waking up, he got the good news. So what we have done, he woke up, we have reduced it, removed the subject and changed it into participle. That means waking up. We have added ing to the verb and to the present tense of the verb, that is waking up, he got the good news. Next. He worked very hard and did well in his final examination. So here, two independent clauses are joined by an. That's the coordinating conjunction. Now let's see how we change it into a simple sentence. Working very hard, he did well in his final examination. So now we see when we are using the coordinating conjunction and, what we do, we usually reduce one of the clauses into a phrase, and then how do we reduce it? We use the participle phrase for it, and then we have one subject and one verb, and that's how it gets transformed into a simple sentence. Next, the umpire found the light poor and he decided to call off the day's play. So again, he decided, he is hidden over here. Now let's see how we turn it into a simple sentence. Finding, again ing, found, find, add ing to it. Finding the light to be poor, the umpire decided to call off the day's play. Next, by using a prepositional phrase. So again, what we'll do, we'll reduce the clause and turn it into a prepositional phrase. Now the compound sentences, my father not only prepared the batter, but also baked the cake. Now let's see how we transform it into a simple sentence. Besides preparing the batter, my father baked the cake. So when we are using the coordinating conjunction but to join two independent clauses, what we do, we use the prepositional phrase such as besides, in spite of and all that, and transform it into a simple sentence. Mira was terribly sad, but she did not blame anybody. So let's see how we change it into a simple sentence. In spite of being terribly sad, so Mira was terribly sad, that's one independent clause. Now we've reduced it into a phrase. We have removed the verb and the subject and transformed it into a phrase. In spite of being terribly sad, then we have she did not blame anybody. Now the next one, by using infinitive. Now the compound sentences, you must be hardworking or you will not prosper in life. Now here the coordinating conjunction is or. Now let's see how we turn it into a simple sentence. You must be hardworking to prosper in life. So the infinitive means we have to use two and then the verb, the first form of the verb. So that's how we have reduced "you will not prosper in life" to "prosper in life." We've just reduced it to a phrase. Next, he must give up drinking or he will suffer. So this is a compound sentence with "or" as a coordinating conjunction, and let's see how we turn it into a simple sentence. He must give up drinking to avoid suffering. So, or he will suffer, that independent clause, we have reduced it to an infinitive phrase, to avoid suffering. So that's how we have reduced it into a simple sentence. Now, this is the transformation of simple to compound or compound to simple. Whatever you say, sentences at a glance, I've just written it. Verb ing, that means it's a participle like walking, sleeping. If we have such type of verb in the simple sentence, then to make the compound sentence, when we expand the phrase of the simple sentence, we'll use the conjunction and. Next, when we have the phrases beginning with "in spite of," "despite," "besides," "notwithstanding," then what will be used as a coordinating conjunction? "But yet still," either of these. And next, if it is infinitive, that means we have "to" and then the verb. Or if we have "but for," then what we use as the coordinating conjunctions, "or," "else," "otherwise." So any one of these. Now, if this phrase of the simple sentence begins with "being" or "by" plus some noun, then how do we change it into compound sentence? We'll use as the coordinating conjunction "therefore" or "so." Now again, at the time of, or if it is possessive plus verb and ing, that means walking, sleeping, that type of a verb. Or if it's a noun, then what do? We use "and" to connect the two independent clauses. Again, having plus verb 3, that means the third form of the verb, that is speak, spoke, spoken. So spoken is the third form of the verb, and if it's a regular verb like walk, walked, walked, so its ed is always ed. Then what do? We use "and" as the coordinating conjunction for the compound sentence. So that's all for today. Thank you for being there with me. If you like the content, do give a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Do subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell icon for future updates. Bye. Take care. See you in the next one.